Antonio, so nice to see you here. I'm so glad that you're able to spend some time with me today to talk about, you and your country and your experience. Um, you told me about it, and I never knew about the situation in Venezuela until I met you. So I thought it was a great story, and hopefully it'll inspire others. And so this is why I have you on my podcast today, because I wanted you to tell your story. So please start.
Well, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I'm super happy to see you again and to share part of my story with you and with anyone that is willing to listen. Because I think this is a beautiful thing that we do for each other is to listen and learn from each other's experiences, and
Yes.
it always there's always something positive that can come out of it.
Right. That's right.
So yes, my name is Antonio. I come from Venezuela. I've been here in Canada for over 7 years now.
Oh.
And yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit of how I ended up here
Yes.
in Canada. So I grew up in Venezuela. I grew up in the mainland, in a very small city. It's actually similar to Alberta in many ways, in the sense that there's a lot of farms. It's known for the cattle and all this
Okay.
stuff. So that's where I grew up. When I went to university, I decided to study engineering, and following some family role models and all this stuff, I ended up in a military university.
Wow.
I studied electronic engineering there,
Okay.
and I guess the first part of my story, or the one that I want to share with you today, starts right around that time when I
Okay.
was starting the university, because
Mhm.
around that time I turned 18,
Mhm.
and that's the age when you become an adult legally,
Yeah.
and it opens up a world of possibilities. And
Mhm.
for me, the important thing or the meaningful thing about turning 18 was that it was the first time I was going to be allowed to vote.
Oh yes.
Democracy, it's a big thing in my country. We have constant elections all the time, and I grew up seeing. We lived behind a school that acted as a voting center
Okay.
during elections. So I grew up watching my parents and all my neighbors, getting excited and
Mhm.
going to vote, and exercise your duty as a citizen.
Right.
So for me, it was a big thing. That was the most important thing that I wanted to do as an adult. And the first opportunity I had to do it, it was during something called a referendum. So
Okay. What year was this about?
this was about 2003, I
Okay.
believe.
Mhm.
Yes, and so the idea is that, well, the president at the time had been through halfway of the period, and the people can activate this mechanism so they can vote and
Mhm.
decide if they want him to continue or do another elections for a new president. So I was really excited to do it, and obviously I went through it. I voted, I felt great, and a couple months later, there started. There was this thing where a lawmaker,
Okay.
I don't know how, or I don't know the details of how this happened, but this person got a hold of all the people that had voted, and they did something unprecedented, which was basically release all the information of who had voted and what the vote was. So they basically broke the secrecy of the vote for everybody who participated.
What was the purpose of doing that?
It was to punish the people that voted against the
Oh.
government. That was the main reason. However, at that point, I was still just a student
Yeah.
in the university. I had no idea of how this would affect me in the future.
Mhm.
So I heard about this on the news, and I knew about it, but I I didn't quite understood
Yeah.
what was going on until a couple of years later when I graduated,
Yeah.
and then I started looking for jobs. And back home, well, the biggest or the dream job for everybody back home, or in engineers at that
Yeah.
time, was the oil industry.
Right.
And the biggest company in the country was the public oil company.
Okay.
And so that's where I tried to get a job first, because
Yeah.
that was like a big thing.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I was rejected immediately
Oh wow.
because because of this voting that had
That you
happened
voted, oh.
years in the past, but it was still there.
Mhm.
They had it was actually it feels surreal just to think about how it
Yeah.
happened, but they had this database on the computer, and they enter my ID number, and this was during the interview, and enter my ID number, and the lady she turned the screen and she showed me, and in the screen there was a little window that
You
said
were
this
flagged.
person
Oh.
voted against the government or against the
Oh.
revolution, something like that, and so he shouldn't be hired. So
Oh my
she said,
God.
"Sorry, I cannot. You not fit to work here."
Oh my goodness.
So that was the first big consequence of
Your voting.
or my voting,
Yeah.
of expressing my opinion.
Yeah.
So okay, I wasn't hired there.
Okay.
I didn't try any of the other public companies because I heard the same story from other
Oh,
people.
yeah. Mhm.
So I was discouraged from that.
Mhm.
Luckily, I ended up having or getting a job at the same university where I studied,
Okay.
and this was very lucky because I guess they didn't check there because
Yeah.
I was already there.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah.
Yes, but the good thing, well, I got the job at the university and started working there as staff member. I actually had a really good deal with the university. They basically offered me to the opportunity to become a professor,
Oh, okay.
and in exchange, they would pay for my education, all the upgrading that I needed to do.
Oh, nice.
And if I wanted to do a master's or a PhD,
Wow.
everything, the exchange was if they needed to move me anywhere on the country, because this university was spread out all over the country.
Okay. That's good.
They told me, well, if we need you in another city, you have to go, and this is
Mhm.
part of the deal. So I took it.
Yeah.
It was a very good experience to work in different places, meet different people, and learn a lot more of how the university worked,
Mhm.
and I'll continue my education as well.
Mhm.
So this went on very well for a couple of years, and I loved it. I love teaching because I guess it's in my veins.
Yeah.
A lot of my family are teachers. My
Okay.
mom was a teacher. A couple of my uncles are teachers.
Oh,
and,
nice.
and so I think it was a pretty good fit,
Yeah.
even though I had not considered it before.
Oh, okay.
But it went really well, and also because it allowed me to continue my education.
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd, so I always love I always love to learn new stuff, and especially a career with like engineering.
Yeah.
You have to keep on top of it,
Okay.
learning new stuff, right? So
Mhm.
I got a lot of it, and then after a couple of years, during that time, I guess we're talking 2008,
Okay.
2009. The economy was crashing. I guess the economy had always been on
Yeah.
somewhat of a downward
Yeah.
trajectory, but those years it started like
Right.
off a cliff.
Mhm.
Just to tell you an approximation, at that time, working as a full-time professor at the university, I was getting paid roughly $50 an hour. No, not an hour, a month. Yes, and that was my money for a month was
Oh
like
my
$50.
gosh.
So I had no idea, not even in the wildest
Yeah.
dream I could think of buying a house for myself
Right.
or a car. It was too expensive. I was able to get around because my mom, luckily she had a car,
Okay.
and since she was retired, she
Yeah.
didn't use it so much. She gave it to me, and that's pretty much how I got
Thank
around,
goodness. Yeah.
because I had
Yeah.
no opportunity to buy one or to make it with my job.
Yeah.
But that was still okay. Bad economy. You learn how to deal with it, and because some of the other things is that food was very cheap, so I could buy food and
Oh,
survive.
okay.
So
I was gonna ask that question.
yes,
Wow.
yeah. So that was, I guess, the good part, that even with a very small salary, you could still buy food.
Yeah.
Not much
Yeah.
like other like clothing
Yeah,
or
yeah.
luxuries or stuff,
Yeah.
but at least
Yeah.
food was covered. And at the time, that was enough for me because you always hope for the best. Things are gonna
Yeah.
get better. This is just a bad
A period in time.
a bad
yeah.
period, things will get better
Yeah.
eventually. But they didn't. Years went by and things got worse. And not only in the economy, the violence on the street was getting out of hand as well because of the same situation, right? People can't make money, so they resort to other tactics or I don't know how to call it.
Yeah.
So I think around July 2010,
Okay.
there was a stretch of 3 weeks, a month, where I had two of my students have very bad incidents. One of them was shot in the foot, and the most surreal part of it, or unbelievable, is that he was shot in the foot because he didn't have money.
Oh my God.
So it was some sort of punishment to, you should learn how to make money or something, and they shot him in the foot.
Oh.
And another one of my students got stabbed in the back,
Jeez.
defending his family. Some people came in his house. One of my coworkers, another professor, was shot in the back. Also, they were trying to get into his house.
Oh my God.
And this was less than a month. And in that month, I also was a victim of a situation like this, where a couple of kids, which were probably 15 or 16, armed with guns.
What?
Yep, they tried to take my car, and
Just on the street, like.
just on the street. Yeah, we were sitting down outside in a garden, just sitting down, a couple of friends. We were having a conversation, and these kids came out of nowhere with guns, and they started beating us up. And yeah, so that was, I called that day or that night the second time that I was born,
No kidding.
because it was like out of the movies, being subjected to this kind of violence
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah.
Very, very bad experience. And being taken hostage, because I was with some friends, but the car was mine, and the keys were gone. So the guys thought that I was hiding them.
Yeah.
So they took me apart,
Oh my
and they
God.
started to pressure me to give the keys back. I had no idea where the keys
Oh my
went,
God.
because actually, when they took the stuff from our
Yeah.
pockets, the keys were in my pocket, and they fell on the grass
Oh my God.
because we were in the garden. And so I had no idea of this.
Oh.
And at the same time, the guy was like, turn the car on or I will kill you, or I shoot you.
Oh my God.
So tremendous pressure there. I remember that the only thing I could say in that moment is, I want to leave. Please, I want to leave. That was the only words that came out of my mouth all the time. Is, I want to leave. I want to leave. Please, I'll do everything. I want to leave.
Yeah.
Eventually, some stuff happened. They got distracted with some other people that came around, and I had the opportunity. Well, my friends and I had the opportunity to just run.
The angels were there for you. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yes, so we could escape, run into the bush, hide there for a couple of hours or minutes. I don't
Yeah.
even know how long,
Oh my God.
and then come out again, call the police, and do all the protocol.
Yeah.
But that definitely was sort of a wake-up call, that I have.
Close to death, it's like, okay, I need to do something now. Like, oh.
Yes, well, water has never tasted so good after, before that
kidding.
day, it tastes different. Yes. It definitely changed. It changed my outlook on life, on things, or, taking things for granted,
Mhm.
or maybe getting annoyed or angry for
Yeah.
things that shouldn't.
That's a good lesson, though.
Yes.
But I mean, not getting like almost near death, but
Yeah.
but your mind changed.
Yes, I
That's
guess
good.
taking it that way, or
Yeah.
taking that out of it,
Yeah.
being more grateful with life, with
Yeah.
others, and not holding back on feelings.
Yeah.
Say I love you to
Good
the
for
people you love,
you.
because
Yeah.
you never know if
Yeah.
you're gonna see them again.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, so that was a very bad experience.
Mhm.
That made me rethink my whole life,
Okay.
what I was doing, and right around that, so I decided, well, first thing to do is I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna go back to the city where I grew up, be
Okay.
close to my mom and my dad,
Wow.
and just
Yeah.
try to figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Then, while I was back home in the city, so what I did was I took advantage of that deal I made with my work, where they could switch me out from cities. So I
Okay.
actually requested
Yeah.
to be changed
Oh,
to
that's
that to
good,
the
yeah.
city where I grew up. So I went there. A couple months into it, we were approaching another election at the end of the
Oh.
year, and then I went one day just to visit one of my aunts. Not really my aunt, but like
Yeah.
uh,
It's same in
like
my culture. Yeah. the
like a
phone.
second mother.
Yes, yes, like a
Yes.
mother. Yeah.
So I went to visit her, and I take my mom's car. I go there. I parked on the street, and I had the day before written in the back windshield.
Mm-hmm.
I had written something that was going around social media and stuff.
Oh.
That like some sort of campaign to unite people.
Yeah.
It said "Soy venezolano." I
Okay.
am Venezuelan. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it said. So I put that on the back of the car.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
nice thing,
Yeah.
It was a
It's
message.
like a neutral almost saying. So,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So I go to my aunt's house. We park outside, and before we go into her house, we're just standing outside on the street, and we see that there's some people, like there's
Oh.
some a group of people near the corner.
Oh no.
And we thought at first, oh, is there like a party or
Yeah.
something going on there? It turned out it wasn't. It was some people that were angered by this message,
Oh.
and so they started coming our way, and they started throwing rocks at us and stuff. So
Oh,
we
wow.
actually we ran inside the house as quick as we could. Couldn't take the car in, and so they trashed the car, like all the glasses, all the
Yeah.
windshields, the doors, everything, lights,
This is the
headlights.
car that your mother gave you.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, destroyed completely. Luckily, we could send it to the insurance later,
Okay.
but the feeling. Sorry if I get emotional
No,
about
it's
this.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. I think I know where you're coming from. I think I know what you're gonna say.
So, right after all that happened, we moved the car into the garage, and I just get out of the car, and I just looked at it, wondering
Yeah.
why, how.
Yeah.
How could you hate somebody for thinking differently or having different opinion, political opinion,
Mhm.
whatever opinion
Yeah.
it is, religious opinion, gender, or
Yeah,
anything?
Yeah.
How could you have so much hatred that you
Yeah.
want to physically harm them,
Yeah.
to chase them,
Yeah.
or scare them? And I could not understand. I was just standing there in disbelief, and my friend,
Yeah.
my aunt's son, he said to me, Antonio, you are giving me a lesson today on self-control, or because I would be so enraged, so
Yeah.
angry, and I could just not believe it. I was just shocked because I cannot imagine myself
Yeah.
having that kind of feelings toward anyone, no matter what they do to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was, I guess, another big lesson, right? That's when I decided it's been enough. I have to get out. I need to leave. This is not a place to have a future.
No.
I don't see a future here. And same thing happened I guess around the same time that happened. I had another encounter with a friend that we were having a conversation, and we were very good friends. Actually, not the best of friends,
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
friendly
Yeah.
with each other, and until we had the political conversation. When our conversation turned political, he became so angry at me, or against me, that I remember clearly what he said, because it will never
Yeah.
leave my mind. He said, if the president tells us to go and kill the opposition, I will go to your house first. I will kill you first.
Even though you are friends.
Yes, yes.
Just
Like
because
we
of his
hang
political
out,
view.
we hang out, have dinner together, sang songs, play the
Oh.
guitar together, and then suddenly, because I have a different political opinion, that's it. We are not friends anymore, and if the situation comes, I'm going to
Yeah.
go kill you. So
Oh.
that's a lot to take in, a lot
Yeah.
to live with. That
Yeah,
fear,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
So
I'm so sorry you had to experience this.
yeah, so yeah, that was enough for me. I decided to get out. This situation is too extreme.
Mhm.
I need to find another place
Better life.
to have a life.
Yeah.
To have a future where I can be myself, express
Yeah.
my opinions without fear
Yeah.
to be hurt or
Yeah.
prosecuted or anything.
So how did that happen? How did you, it sounded like, because you're here now, how did you get your journey to Canada? How did that happen?
So Canada was basically the first option in my mind
Mhm.
because I had family here.
Oh, okay, that's good.
My big sister, she moved out in '99.
Mhm.
So at the time she'd been here for over 10 years now.
Oh,
She
okay.
had family, her
Mhm.
daughters and stuff. So it was the first option. Oh, it was very expensive, and with the money that I was making,
Yeah.
it was not very.
Yeah.
I had no chance of saving enough
Yeah.
money. It would have taken many years.
Yeah.
So right around that time, I changed jobs. I had the opportunity to become a manager at a bed and breakfast.
Wow.
Kind of thing.
That's totally different from.
Completely different. Completely change of career pace and
Yeah.
everything. But it was a very good one.
Yeah.
First of all, I was making $500 a month now.
Wow.
So 10 times more
Yeah.
than teaching. And then that allowed me to save a little bit more
For
money.
sure. Oh, wow.
And also it was not in the mainland, so it was in one of the islands in the
Okay.
Caribbean.
Oh,
And
nice.
so the environment was a lot different.
Yeah.
There was less violence,
Yeah.
less
It was
insecurity.
calmer, more relaxing a little bit.
Yes, by
Yeah.
the beach.
Yeah.
So a lot healing. I guess it was
Yeah.
a healing time for
Oh,
me.
good for you.
Then, well, a lot of work, saving
Mm.
a lot of money, and preparing to move out.
Yeah.
Moving out was a difficult thing. It was because at the time, the very few flights were available to leave the country, and the
Mhm.
destinations were very limited.
Okay.
So we had to plan like a very long route. I had to take I don't remember exactly, but I think it was 4 flights.
Oh my
One
gosh.
flight inside Venezuela, then another one to Colombia, from Colombia to Panama, then to Panama to Toronto, I
Oh
think.
my gosh.
And then Toronto to Calgary, 'cause
Yeah.
that's where we landed.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so it was a very long trip,
Yeah.
and not easy at all. Also, I wanted to come here as an
Mhm.
engineer. You know, I had my degree, I had
Yeah.
all my studies,
Okay.
but also that was another thing that were
Yeah.
my political opinions and
Yeah.
my wanting to leave the country in
Yeah.
that time was not
Yeah.
a good. It was not seen in good eyes by the
Right.
government, so they would do anything to try to make it hard.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was not able to get any of my paperwork done that time.
Oh.
So I decided, well, I just want to leave. I need to leave.
Yeah.
There's no. If I don't leave now, I will get
Never
stuck.
get out,
I
yeah.
will never leave.
But you needed a passport to come, right?
Yes.
How did that process work?
I did have my
Okay, that's
passport.
good.
I did have it,
Yeah.
and actually that was actually no problem
Oh,
getting it.
good. Yeah.
In that sense, at
Yeah.
that time it was good. So I had the problem with my engineering degree and stuff,
Yeah.
but the ID and everything was good. Because if that's I could say very good in my country is the ID control. Like
Yeah.
you go get your new passport and stuff. It was very
Oh, that's
efficient.
good. Good.
Yes. So we got out. I decided, well, I have to start a new career then.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I actually came as a student. I got a student visa.
Okay.
And I studied aircraft maintenance.
In Toronto?
No, in Calgary at
Oh,
State.
Calgary. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. Because I had also this love for
Yeah.
aircraft and
Mhm.
flying aircraft. My
Yeah.
uncle was a big role model in my
Oh,
life. He was
okay.
a fighter pilot. He was from the Air Force,
Okay.
and my room was decorated with
Oh,
his
nice.
pictures of all
Oh,
the planes
wow.
he flew. So I always was close to that
Oh,
industry somehow.
yeah, that's nice.
And yeah, so that's why I studied that, and once that was done, I got a job at a company that does air works with air tankers and firefighting, which must be very active these days with all the fires that are going on.
Yeah.
So I worked with them for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually I was able to get my permanent residency.
Oh, nice.
And once I got my permanent residency and I was able to work, change my field, because
Mhm.
during my work permit or
Mhm.
my study visa, I
Yeah.
could only work in the
Yeah.
job that I was here to study.
Right. Okay.
So when I could branch out and select other career options or paths,
Mhm.
I decided I wanted to go back
Mhm.
to my love, my engineering.
Yeah.
And I started looking for jobs in the area.
In
And
Calgary.
yes, and not many things came up, here and there some things, but eventually I ended up seeing a post for the University of Alberta,
Okay.
and they were looking for somebody to work at the digital systems lab, and I was like, oh my god. I remember I was so excited when I saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, this is perfect for me.
Yeah.
It ticks all the boxes.
Oh,
This
nice.
is my dream job, because it was basically the same thing that I was doing back home when I
Okay.
worked as the professor.
Mhm.
Just focus on the labs,
Yeah.
on the practical aspect.
Mhm.
And at the same time that I was so excited, I thought, I'm probably not going to get this. It's
Oh.
not. This is probably too difficult for me, or maybe I
Okay.
don't have
The credentials.
the
Or
credentials.
Yeah. Okay.
But I decided to apply
Yeah,
anyways
good for
because I was very excited about it.
Yeah. There's no
And-
harm in trying, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Nothing bad can come out,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So I did the first interview. Everything went well. Then they said like, well, the position that we want to get you in is not really this one. It might be a different one, but we don't have the budget yet.
Oh.
So I thought, oh, they're letting me go easy.
Yeah.
They're trying to.
Yeah.
But no, a couple of weeks later, they did reach out again, and I ended up getting the job, and
The original. Sorry, you got the interview for a different job,
for a different one.
and you thought that was it.
Yes.
So then you got another call a couple weeks later, thinking they weren't going to call me, and then they called you.
Yes, with a better offer.
Oh,
Yes.
that's lovely.
So it worked out very well in my favor,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you, like, I never been happier since I moved to
Since-
Canada. Just getting this job
Oh,
means the
my-
world to me.
Oh.
And I'm so happy doing it,
Yeah.
coming to work every day,
Yeah.
Being able to put my skills to work.
Yes.
Not that the other jobs didn't allow me to,
Mhm.
but these ones, I guess there's this saying that when you do something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly. It's with
And
your
this is-
heart. Yeah.
This is how I feel,
Yeah.
coming to work, interacting with the students,
Yeah.
teaching,
Wow.
imparting knowledge, sharing,
Yeah.
and also learning, because
Yeah.
that's also part of the job, is learning
Yeah.
and being on top of things.
Yeah.
So that's also very
Mhm.
fulfilling
Yeah.
as a person. And coming here, meeting so many great
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
from Canada is such a incredible place.
Very diverse, right?
So much diversity of culture, of languages. I remember one of the first things I noticed when living in Calgary was that you couldn't go in downtown Calgary a couple blocks without listening to like 5 different languages. You just hear all kinds of
Yeah.
people, kinds of
Yeah.
food everywhere.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And also, the idea that so many different cultures, they all have to live together and
Yes.
tolerate and get along
Yeah.
with each other.
With different opinions.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So a very tolerant environment,
Yeah.
very peaceful. That's
Mhm.
another thing. Everybody is peaceful. There's not
Mhm.
much violence or any of this on
Yeah.
the streets. So
Yeah.
it was great. I feel
Yeah.
fantastic
That's awesome.
of being around, just walking on the
Yeah.
streets, looking at people, talking to
Yeah.
people. And that's been certainly a great experience,
Oh.
and also learning a lot, because culturally it's very different.
Right.
Back home, We are very diverse
Mhm.
people, the way that, I guess, the way that we look. Everybody
Yeah.
looks different,
Yes.
but we all share the same culture,
Yeah.
which is different from having different cultures in the same country. Here
Yeah.
you have a lot of different cultures
Yeah.
interacting
Yeah.
together, sharing knowledge
Mhm.
and exchanging.
Mhm.
So being here has shown me a different kind of appreciation, a different kind of sensitivity for different cultures, for
Yeah.
different people. And I love that because that's one of the things I enjoy. I
Yeah.
think I'm like a humanist person. I love
Yeah.
to talk to people, learn from them,
Yeah.
from their experiences.
Yeah.
So this has been a fantastic experience for me, and I don't want it to end.
Yes. I was going to ask you one question. When you were traveling at that many stops, maybe you can kind of touch on how were you feeling once you once you actually left, technically left, like we were on the plane and you left your country, knowing you were kind of like escaping kind of, the situation there.
Yeah.
What were your feelings, especially when you left and when you maybe landed in Canada? What was it like? What were you feeling? Was there relief or?
It was a mixed bag of
Yeah.
feelings, like a big knot on my throat or my stomach,
Yeah.
because like you said, the way it felt was that I was escaping.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was leaving because of my own choice or
Yeah,
because I
right.
wanted it, because I need to.
Need to, yeah.
I didn't see a future
Yeah.
there, and so leaving my family,
Yeah,
leaving
that's
everything
gotta
that
be
I
hard.
had built, work
Yeah.
in I don't know, my mother's house. Or
Yeah.
I even tried to start my own business when I was there.
Oh.
And I worked,
Yeah.
building it
Yeah.
with my hands, and
Yeah.
having to leave that and say
Yeah.
goodbye to it was very emotional time.
Wow.
And at the same time, a lot of hope, a lot of new
Yes.
hope, or regained hope,
Yeah.
that things will be better, that this is going to be better, not just for me,
Oh.
but for my family, because
Yeah.
being here allows me to send
Yeah.
money to my family and help them
Yes.
in ways that I couldn't if I
Before.
had stayed. Yeah. So it's an improvement in many aspects
Yeah.
of my life and my family's as well.
Wow, that's lovely. Well, thank you for spending some time with me and telling your story. But before you go, I have a very important question to ask you.
Yes.
And is what matters to Antonio the most? What matters to you?
To me, I would say family. I would say connections with people.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get emotional again.
Aw,
Friendship.
that's good.
Yeah, I love people.
Oh, that's lovely.
And yeah, that matters to me.
Oh my gosh, you just touched me right there. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything
Thank you
you've
for
done.
inviting me.
And I'm glad that I offered this safe space for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for being so vulnerable. That means a lot to me. You're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Does it feel
Yeah.
good to talk about?
Yes,
Oh,
every time.
Every time.
Yes. It gets easier every time.
You'll really-
Yes.
That's what listening's about.